late in the afternoon or good evening. Hi, I'm Trix Estomata. Thank you, SOMACORE, for having me here to share about SPADE's initiative. No, I hope my screen is visible and I'm also audible. Maybe a thumbs up so I know.
Yes, we can see your deck, Trix.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so allow me to proceed. So hi everybody. As Trish has already shared, I'm Trixie Estomata from GIZ Philippines. I'm the senior technical expert on digitalization and GIS. But mostly I've been working on environmental and climate change related projects. But today I am here to talk about SPADE's iMAP dashboard, a data visualization implemented by another GIZ Philippine project. And for your information, SPADE is strengthening the implementation of regional and local peace and development agenda in Mindanao. So just very quickly about me, I graduated from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. So I took BS Genetic Engineering and also was an ERDT scholar and took Master of Remote Sensing and I've been with GIZ since 2013, 2012 as a consultant. I've worked for more than 8 different environmental climate change related projects. And my hobbies are watching anime, reading manga, and playing badminton. And because the first presentation was very much about uh, coastal resources mapping, I wrote here my MS thesis was actually benthic cover mapping from video tools and photographs. So currently, we've mentioned it multiple times. I am the senior technical expert in digitalization and GIS. And also because this is a very different topic from what we have been discussing now for ACB's dashboard and also Mermaid. I just want to share a little bit about SPADE project. So just a little information. So it's part of the Mindanao Peace and Development Program. You can get more information about SPADE using that QR code on the top. And it's implemented with the Mindanao Development Authority or MINDA and the Department of Interior and Local Government, DILG. So it's co-funded by the European Union and Germany's Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, or BMZ. So this is actually on the right is a screenshot of what the SPADE iMAP and dashboard looks like. And now we go to the iMAP. It is the SPADE's web-based GIS or WebGIS in short, showing the project's various interventions and its implementing partners. They work with federations and cooperatives working on agricultural products. You can visit the iMAP using the QR code here attached. So WebGIS, I think the previous presentation also mentioned that they use this. So it's traditional GIS tasks usually are offline. You need a software, you need a desktop computer, and you do not need internet connection. But in this case, we use this. So it's an excellent starting point for entities requiring information about value chains and cooperatives. And WebGIS uses the internet, so the data is stored online. There's an online database, and then it's visualized, analyzed, and distributed online. In the case of they developed this before I came into the project. I came in when it was already established. I just helped them update it and put more meat into it. And then so what we do here is we populate the data using the ArcGIS tool called ArcSurvey123. So in terms of intervention, so we did a digital survey, so it's not paper with geospatial or location information. So there's a survey admin, and there were M&E or monitoring and evaluation officers, and then they had to undergo multiple trainings how to use the tool. And then there was tech provisions. So SPADE project purchase tablets for each federation so that they can use it for data inputs, and then consolidate once M&E officers input into the ARC survey 123. It's consolidated into an online database, so it's not an Excel sheet. It's not an offline tool, so it's immediately uploaded into a cloud server on ArcGIS. Uh, and uh, and so we have a single source of data for both iMAP and the dashboard. So from the cloud server, we pull data from there, and it's viewed on ArcGIS WebGIS in iMAP and then also in the dashboard. So how does it work? So here, just a very quick one through. So we have a questionnaire. It's on Arc Survey 123. So that's the tool. This is what it looks like. They input data there. And then this data is organized from the inputs of each federation, and then it becomes a database. It becomes ARC survey entries, which looks like this. And then eventually we organize the information and it becomes the data that is shown on iMAP. So that's how it works, from questionnaire to database to data to database into information on iMAP. So the ARC survey 123, so the input is needed from M&E officers of each federation. I think there were 12 federations, and there was at least one M&E officer. At most, there could be 2 or 3. They input all the information needed into the survey form. And it's a very long survey form, actually. So 50 questions. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes. And there are multiple cooperatives per federation. It could be as little as 2 cooperatives. It could be as many as 18 cooperatives. So it's very, very input intensive. And the advantages of having it through ARC Survey 123 or through an online tool is that the digital tool can be used even without internet or without signal, without Wi-Fi. It's very much like Kobo Collect or ODK Collect, which was also discussed a few webinar sessions ago. And the tool will work if devices have been prepared prior to the survey. The tool is also easy to use once users undergo training. And then the data is available as soon as it is uploaded by M&E officers. So there's no digitalization delay. There's no waiting time for the data from written into digital translation to happen. So, and also, of course, because it's on the cloud, the data is also centralized. So this is what it looks like. Immediately upon entering the link, if you also tried to access it, it immediately provides information on how many cooperatives are registered in the online map and how many actual sites have been identified. Because each cooperative could be working in various commodity sites, they call it, and they could be working with various crops or products, and that is reflected on this map. So, and also the map immediately shows you the regions and the pins of where the implementing partners, such as the federations and cooperatives, are located. So it shows on the right, you see here that the first pin, or the FILDRA, Philippine Partnership for the Development of Human Resources in Rural Areas, actually works with 7 cooperatives, and it varies very differently. And they work, and they're located in various regions in Mindanao, which is the south of the Philippines. And I will not go into detail on how that works, but rather more into like the challenges that they we went through in this process. So the first challenge was that any submitted input could not be edited by M&E officers. So it was very highly dependent on the survey admin or the person who can access the back end. And then this was another very challenging situation also, was that the M&E officers, because they also had other responsibilities with their offices or their federations, they were very slow to input or update their data. So it was kind of like you see a map, but it doesn't really give you a complete representation of where SPADE's interventions were. And also, you've been hearing this in probably in many sessions, garbage in, garbage out on iMAP. So if their data, inputted data is incorrect, then it will automatically be reflected on iMAP because they are connected and it automatically reflects on the dashboard. So yeah, so just an emphasis like any incorrect inputs, typos, empty entries, etc. It provides inconsistent or wrong information and can lead to misguided decisions, incorrect strategic planning, and ineffective implementation. So an outcome is, and if an M&E officer knows how to maximize iMAP, it is a great tool to extract essential information for office use. They can get statistics, various statistics, because they inputted a lot of data into it. They can visualize when interventions are happening, and they could go into the finer details of each cooperative based on their inputs. And they have it's a good tool to reference from, like a single source of truth or information. And some lessons learned, because it was not that easy to use. This iMAP was not very intuitive for non-GIS users. Some users, M&E officers, and even SPADE project staff managers found it difficult to get information from iMAP. And a crucial step was to conduct a very good training orientation for iMAP in order for it to be utilized by users. So we had a lot of trainings, on-site, online, just for the tool to be utilized and to be used. And yeah, but essentially, it was really not very easy to use, especially for non-GIS users. And if also you do not try it out often, you forget how to make it work. And because of that, I made a dashboard, which is like a simplified version of iMAP, and it provides targeted information of the project's various interventions. So it's like a summary of of what you can find on iMAP. You can visit the dashboard using the link, the QR code. It still gets information from the database of iMAP, but now it provides targeted information of of the project's various interventions. So this is how it looks like. When you open the dashboard or you access the link, it just shows you an overview of where SPADE's interventions are and broken down into various information. So like where they work, like the total number of provinces that they engage with, the number of municipalities that they work with, and the total number of barangays that are actually tapped or benefit from SPADE. And it also shows like how many cooperatives they are coordinating with, how many male, female, youth, IPs, whatever information that is available on their questionnaire is. I reflected it on this dashboard as these were some relevant information, especially for project managers and also for M&E officers. And down to how many cooperatives were IP exclusive. So only IP or indigenous people were members of that. You can see it here, IP exclusive. There were 5 cooperatives that were only composed of indigenous peoples, and then also there was one cooperative that was women exclusive. So that was some of the stuff that we were able to reflect on this dashboard. So it is a very wealthy source of information just upon opening the website. So immediately you see this if you try to access the QR code. And if you go into because there are tabs at here at the bottom. There are various information that is also made available just by clicking on them. And one of them is this distribution. So it just shows you also like how many cooperatives are involved in specific federations. So it's able to show, this is also actually available on iMAP, but it's not very easy to see on iMAP. So this way, there's also an option here that they can see it. And also here, you notice from here, it shows you 82 cooperatives, 230 project sites. If you click on iMAP, the specific regions there, like for example, just reflect region 11, then it shows you different statistics because it automatically calculates that in region 11, there are only 41 cooperatives that have benefited from SPADE and only 186 project sites. So it changes automatically. But yeah, all nice with those efforts, but I share the same sentiment with the previous presentation on sustainability and usability. It should have been considered in the first place. So we also actually discussed this in detail with their project partner, which was Minda. And yeah, it's very difficult if there's an annual subscription for paid tools or software. So it's not easily or readily taken over by partners. So that's actually the first consideration there. And so this iMAP and dashboard will be hidden in ArcGIS server once the annual subscription from SPADE ends. So that's the problem. And so some recommendations from my side is that we always have to practice the principles for digital development or the digital principles. This has been updated, I think, this year. And these principles are designed to help integrate experiences and best practices into digital or technology-enabled programs. So it just helps us to avoid, the predictable causes of failure, yung lack of participation and representation, uncoordinated actors and programs, inflexible design, and minimization of risk. And in that case, any digital solution, for example, the digital visualization should be user-centric and should address a need. So this was also mentioned in the previous presentation, like you need to talk to your stakeholders. What do they really need? So in this case, I was thinking maybe the web GIS was not really a needed tool and the dashboard could have been sufficient. So, and also, why was the tool developed in the first place? Always consider the end user. Will they be able to afford a software subscription as much as possible? Like mentioned in the previous presentation, use open source software because it's very not really a waste of effort, but it's too bad. Like if this is just shelved and it's not used in the future, because a lot of effort really went into this. So, and also an insight from the project manager of SPADE, what he noticed was that because the update from the M&E officers was a little slow, it did not really trigger wider use by partners. So they had various partners also in Mindanao, but because it made it difficult for them to convince to use the tool. So this is very SPADE exclusive, and their partner has not really taken on using the tool. Also because there will be an annual subscription afterwards. And just some very, I guess, because essentially I jumped into this maybe mid last year and supported them in like updating it, improving it, and creating this dashboard. Just some reflections from a person who jumped in the middle of all this is I think we should consider like the workload per person, the required inputs, because essentially I think there was too many questions, too much data was inputted that it was very difficult for M&E officers, especially if he was alone and he had to input for 18 cooperatives, then I imagine that he would be overwhelmed. So, and if that was the case, it could have been that they recommended to have more M&E officers if there are like more cooperatives in that federation. Also, it would be good if they check if the questions are all required, if you can, and if we can simplify the inputs requested, or and also consider simplifying the tool instead of overcomplicating it. Because I imagine the tool had so many questions, it was really time consuming. And in the end, also, especially for bullet number 2, if the input is required, there was also a time when we had to delete some inputs because it was kind of like a data privacy issue. And so some stuff that uh, some some considerations should have been taken into account before the questions were actually finalized. And yep, I think yeah, that was it. So I hope you were able to access the website and you can see it for yourselves. Thank you.